The P-47 Thunderbolt is often remembered as a rugged ground attack aircraft, a flying tank that could absorb punishment and dish it out. But that reputation, while accurate, obscures the aircraft's true origin story. The Jug wasn't designed to be a mud-moving bruiser. It was conceived as a high-altitude interceptor, a sleek lightweight intended to rule the skies above the battlefield, not the mud below. The story of the P-47 begins not with the aircraft itself, but with a design philosophy that was already obsolete before the war began. Alexander Kartveli, Republic Aviation's chief designer, initially envisioned a lightweight fighter built around an Allison inline engine, much like the P-40. But when combat reports from Europe in 1940 indicated that speed, altitude, and heavy armament would be paramount, Kartveli and his team scrapped the lightweight concept entirely. What emerged was something the Air Corps had never seen before, nor likely imagined: the XB-47B, a massive, 8-ton aircraft built around the colossal Pratt & Amp Whitney R2800 double Wasp engine and an intricate turbo supercharger system that filled nearly the entire belly of the fuselage. This was not a nimble dogfighter. It was a heavyweight contender designed to climb to 30,000 feet and outrun, outdive, and outgun anything the Luftwaffe could throw at it. When the first P-47s arrived in England in late 1942, the reaction was predictable. Pilots accustomed to the nimble Spitfires and Hurricanes were skeptical. They called it the Jug, a name that reflected either its rotund shape, evoking a milk jug, or a contraction of juggernaut, a fitting moniker for something so large and seemingly unstoppable. But the skepticism didn't last. Once in the air, the Jug proved its worth. Despite early issues with climb rate and range, its performance at high altitude was unmatched, and its diving speed was a revelation. German pilots learned to their cost that a P-47 in a dive was uncatchable. The real transformation of the P-47, however, came not from a change in its design, but a change in its mission. With the arrival of the longer-range P-51 Mustang, the USAF's 8th Air Force had a dedicated escort fighter for the deep strategic bombing raids. The Thunderbolt, with its immense power and rugged construction, was gradually shifted from high-altitude escort to a new, brutally dangerous role: low-level ground attack. It was here that the Jug's true genius was finally realized, not as a pretty thoroughbred, but as a heavy-lifting workhorse. This was not a glamorous job. Fighter-bomber pilots of the 9th Air Force flew at treetop height, targeting German supply lines, troop concentrations, and armored vehicles. The risks were staggering. German flak defenses were formidable, with nearly a quarter of all German war production devoted to anti-aircraft weaponry. These pilots weren't fighting a duel at 30,000 feet, they were flying straight into a wall of steel. But the P-47 was uniquely suited to the task. Its air-cooled radial engine was far more resilient to ground fire than the liquid-cooled engines of other fighters. A hit to the cooling system meant certain failure, but the Jug's radial engine could take a beating and keep running. More than 15,600 of these aircraft were built, and they flew over 500,000 combat sorties. By war's end, P-47s had destroyed an astonishing 86,000 railway cars, 9,000 locomotives, and 6,000 armored fighting vehicles. The Westland Lysander story is one of an aircraft repurposed for espionage. The P-47 story is one of repurposing for sheer, brute force destruction. It is a testament to the idea that the most effective weapon in war is rarely the one that was perfectly designed from the start, but the one that can be adapted to the brutal necessities of the battlefield. The Thunderbolt's legacy is a lesson in the power of versatility and the critical importance of tactical air power, a story that continues to inform modern air doctrine today. Subscribe to War Machiner and share this if you value history that goes deeper. The P-47 Thunderbolt, often mischaracterized as merely a rugged ground attack aircraft, actually began its life as a sleek high-altitude interceptor, crafted from a vision of air dominance. Soviet combat reports revealed the necessity for speed, altitude, and heavy armament, leading to the radical redesign by Alexander Kartveli and his team, resulting in the formidable XB-47B. When it arrived in combat in 1942, its size and shape drew skepticism from seasoned pilots, who initially doubted its efficacy against smaller, more agile fighters. However, the Jug quickly proved itself in the skies, overcoming initial hurdles and showcasing its unmatched performance at high altitudes. With mission adaptations spurred by the emergence of the P-51 Mustang, the Jug evolved from high-altitude escort.